This kind of came about thanks to Mayor Berger and the U.S. Conference of Mayors. They reminded us that the new integrated planning law encourages the state and the regional and U.S. EPA headquarters to do outreach about what this new flexibility provides us. And I'm not going to go into that detail. I'm going to let Judy Sheehan and Mayor Berger do that in the next part. But we are, from what we understand, the first state in the country that is putting on such a workshop. So. I do want to thank the Planning Committee. It was a lot of hard work, really fast, with our U.S. EPA counterparts, the U.S. Conference of Mayors, the Ohio Mayors Alliance, and of course, Mayor Berger. We also have speakers from around the country, especially to talk on the affordability session this afternoon. Oh, sorry. Okay, so in Ohio, just to give you a quick recap, the vast majority of our projects for wet weather are in our Northwest District office. We've had a total of 88 wet weather communities that are the CSO, Combined Sewer Overflow definition. Of those, we do have 16 that have completely separated, so we're down to about 72 that we're working on. I'm going too fast, sorry. All right, so we have split up our workload between Ohio and US EPA. We have about 54 lead in Ohio, and then US EPA has 18. We are still involved in all of the 18 that are ongoing. So here's how the breakdown works with the remaining. We once had 61 under MPDS permit only as a state lead. We're down to 45. So the 16 that you saw that had been completely separated were all done strictly with an MPDS permit with the compliance schedules built in. And then for Ohio, we have 4 under administrative findings and orders, and then 5 under consent decrees. And then US EPA has 13 under consent decrees, 1 under a proposed consent decree, and then 4 under administrative orders. And about 25 of our CSO permittees include some aspects of integrated planning in the long-term control plan. We've got a great team of speakers here to give you some examples of what 7 of our communities have done. Integrated planning is not necessarily limited to combined sewer overflow communities. We also invited our communities that have bypasses and sanitary sewer overflows and basement backups. We're excited to say I think we have at least 36 of those communities represented today, and we did have several walk-ins, so probably more. US EPA is organizing a list of the CSO consent decrees around the country with links to each document. We took a look at this particular website that they have, and it seems to be still a work in progress. About half of Ohio's federal consent decrees are on this list. So Lauren Denton is going to be here from US EPA headquarters, and this is something that we're going to ask him to try to get updated. The Water Environment Federation is also compiling a list of the integrated plans from across the country. This is also just got started, so we can share the link to this. But I do know it's still being worked on. In terms of conference logistics today, the bathrooms are out the door, down the hall, and to the left. Lunch is going to be served at 2 buffet tables. We're going to take about a 25-30-minute break so everybody can go get their plates and their drinks and bring them back in. We've got a huge jam-packed agenda. So go to the bathroom, get your lunch, bring it in, and then we'll get started again. The speakers are being videotaped, so we need you to stay at the podium to stay in line with the video. This is going to be put online so that you can go back and revisit it or share with your colleagues or others around the country. We also have attendance from Indiana and Illinois, so wherever you are, thanks for coming. But these will be broken up into modules along with the presentations. Because we're videotaping this, if you have questions, I need you to raise your hand, and David or I will bring you a microphone. The microphone is wired to the video, so we want to make sure we pick up the questions on the video for future viewers. For you speakers, there is water down here in case you need to grab water in the middle of your speech. I can't promise we're going to stay on time. We have a lot of material, so we may go a little later than what the agenda proposes, but for those of you that want to stay, I think it'll be worth it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Director Stevenson, who was a big proponent of us putting this together today, so thank you.
Several people I want to thank. I'm really just here to say good morning, kick things off, and then I'm going to turn it over to many people who are far more experienced and knowledgeable in this topic. But I want to thank Tiffani, first and foremost, in working with Mayor Berger, the Mayor's Alliance. You know, she talked to me about, you know, this idea that some people might want to get together and have a meeting or discussion about integrated planning, and here we are with a room full of well over 100 people. So what started as maybe a small discussion has turned into a very large event, which is quite exciting, but I think that signals the importance of this topic to all of us. And you represent probably many, many others who want the opportunity to engage with all of us moving forward. So I wanted to thank all of you for your time. I walked in here and then I see the basement guys down the hall and I'm like, this is huge. But they're not our guys. I'm sure they might be interested in some of the things we have to say today, but I thought, man, this is massive. But it is big and it is important. We really appreciate your time. I mean, the caliber of leadership sitting in this room today is unprecedented. I was told it's a who's who of infrastructure. So we really appreciate all of you making the time to be here. We appreciate the support of US EPA, both the regional and headquarters teams are here today to engage with us. I am personally very, very interested in this topic, and I'm going to share a little bit about myself, just so you kind of understand philosophically within Ohio EPA kind of where we're coming from and how we're wired. So not that I want to talk about me necessarily. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I look forward to building a lot more relationships under my tenure. I have been at the agency for over 30 years. I started in the regulatory program, so not in the water world. So I'm going to confess that I am not a water infrastructure expert. I'm learning. I have some good mentors within the agency. But my experience was really starting out in the regulatory program, so I see the importance and the necessity of all of the tools we have in the toolkit related to regulations and enforcement and permitting, and that's a pillar of what we do. But for the past 20 years, I have also spent a lot of time, just because it personally speaks to me and because I think it's part of the core mission of what we do, to be far more engaged on the compliance assistance end of things. So I took a turn in my career about 20 years ago and went down the avenue of outreach, education, and assistance related to business development and economic development, because I personally felt it was important, but standing here today, it is an important function of the agency that we use our regulatory tools when we need them, but we also play a role and accept the responsibility and move forward in working with both businesses and communities in a compliance assistance capacity. So I want to share that so you understand the philosophy, and I think we have great teams within the agency. You know, I want to commend Tiffani for her leadership within surface water. There are a lot of things that impress me about Tiffani and her leadership, but I think one of the things that's most impressive is just her willingness to get at the table, to roll up her sleeves, to get her teams to the table to really talk through some of these challenging issues and work through those. So I want to thank you, Tiffani, just for your role today, but really your leadership within the division. We would not be here if it weren't for Tiffani and her folks in this room as well. I know they look forward to continuing the discussion and working closely with you. You know, part of my journey, so in the infrastructure world, again, I'm not a novice, but I'm not an expert, but I had the opportunity over the past several years in a prior position to lead the Division of Environmental and Financial Assistance. So we have several people here today from that division. That's where I really got to know Jerry and Jerry's team, and I think that's really, I think, what started me on the path of developing just a deeper understanding of the infrastructure world. First of all, from the importance of the day-to-day work that you and your teams do to support infrastructure in Ohio. You know, your utility operators are really the unsung heroes out there every day working to ensure that our citizens have safe water. And that is incredibly important. And it's an incredibly difficult job. And it's becoming more challenging in today's environment when we have so many priorities and emerging priorities. So please send back to your utility teams our thanks for the work that they do every single day. Thank you for your leadership. I mean, again, one of the things that's becoming very clear to all of us, and this is why we're here today, is just the emerging challenges that we face from an infrastructure development standpoint. So in working with Jerry and his team, I think we all know that the infrastructure needs are vast. And they're getting bigger. And they're getting more expensive. And they're getting more complicated. So, if Tiffani would ask me what I'm hopeful for today, it's that open, honest, productive dialogue around those issues. Because I think the thing that binds us all together, the common thread here, is that we all want safe water. We all want strong utilities because we want the public to be safe. We want to protect our natural resources. But we want to do it in a way that's affordable and sustainable for our communities. And we're getting to that tipping point in some areas where we need to think creatively. We need to think about the tools that are out there. We need to think about the avenues that we have to make sure that Ohio has strong and safe and affordable infrastructure. And that's what brings us here. But we have a common thread. So I'm here to learn. I'm here all day. My team is here from the director's office. So I wanted to make sure you also are aware of a few people who will be points of contact for you moving forward, important points of contact. Mark Johnson is here. Mark, he's in the back. He is our Business and Regulatory Affairs Deputy. So, today we're talking about infrastructure, but as community leaders, you have a lot of other needs, and you may have other things that you need to work with us on to support not only your communities, but businesses within your communities. So you want to get to know Mark. Michael Guastella is with us in the back, and he's our Community and Legislative Deputy Director. So I wanted you to know that we have, people who are plugged in within the director's office to ensure that you have a sounding board within my office for issues that are important to you. Laura Factor is also here. Many of you know Laura. She is my right hand. She is the assistant director, And she is available and accessible to all of you to help you. My team works with our teams internally. So I feel like we're in a good place. I feel like we're going to accomplish great things. My general philosophy is let's get to the table and talk through things. I'm open, I'm transparent, I want to be engaged. And today is just one example of the opportunities that we have together to have those discussions and work in partnership and really move forward. So I'm hopeful that today is just the beginning of an ongoing dialogue around an issue that's very, very important to us. And it's important to think creatively and look for solutions together. So again, I want to thank you. I am excited about today. I'm looking forward to a very productive discussion. And if there's anything I can personally do or that my team can do for you today or after today, we are here and we are available. So thank you very much. So it's my privilege to also introduce, so that we can really get into the substance of our discussions, Mayor David Berger.